For decades, Black America carried everybody's water, fought everybody's battles, and got nothing but the leftovers. Well, guess what? The servants just clocked out, and suddenly everybody got amnesia about how they used us. You want to know what's hilarious? All these groups acting brand new now that Black Americans finally said enough is enough. Suddenly, we're the bad guys because we stopped being everyone's stepping stool. Let me tell you something. Black America has been the most loyal, most dedicated, most ride-or-die coalition partner this country has ever seen. And what did we get for it? Crumbs, disrespect, and a whole lot of people using our struggle as a blueprint, then leaving us in the dust. Let's talk facts. When immigrants needed someone to march alongside them for their rights, who was out there? Black Americans. When the LGBTQ community needed allies to fight for marriage equality, who showed up to the polls? Black Americans, especially Black women. When labor movements needed bodies on the picket lines, who was there? Black Americans. We've been the backbone of every progressive movement in this country, and I'm not exaggerating. Our blood, our sweat, our votes, our voices have lifted up every marginalized group you can name. And what did we get in return? Silence. Straight up silence when we needed them most. When Black neighborhoods were being destroyed by gentrification, where were our so-called allies? When police were killing our sons and daughters in the streets, where was that reciprocity we were promised? When our schools were being defunded and our communities were being poisoned, where were all those groups we marched for? They were ghost, vanished, nowhere to be found. But here's the part that really gets me. We didn't just show up for other people's fights, we begged for coalitions. We actually begged people to work with us. Think about how crazy that is. The group that has been oppressed the longest in this country, the group that built this nation for free, had to beg other groups to form partnerships. And you know what happened? They took our strategies, copied our movement tactics, borrowed our cultural capital, and then acted like we didn't exist when it was time to return the favor. The immigrant rights movement studied the civil rights movement like it was a textbook. They used our songs, our organizing methods, our rhetoric, and I'm not mad at that. Use what works. But when comprehensive immigration reform was on the table and Black unemployment was through the roof, did anybody say maybe we should address both issues? Nope. We were told to wait our turn, be patient, understand that this was more urgent. Our turn never came, by the way. It never does. The LGBTQ community made tremendous strides, and again, I'm genuinely happy about that. Love is love, equality is equality. But let's be honest about who was in the trenches making that happen. Black women showed up and showed out at the polls. Black churches, despite all the controversy, had members who fought for those rights. And when marriage equality passed, when employment protections expanded, did those same organizations come back and fight against housing discrimination in Black neighborhoods? Did they mobilize against police brutality in our communities? Most of them didn't. They got their rights and kept it moving. And don't even get me started on how other groups have treated us in their own communities. We fought for Asian American rights, stood against the violence and discrimination they faced. But let's talk about how many Asian-owned businesses in Black neighborhoods treat Black customers. Let's discuss the anti-Black racism that exists in those communities. We marched for their dignity, but some of them wouldn't even give us basic respect in return. Latino communities, same story. We understood the immigration struggle because we know what it's like to be dehumanized in America. We showed solidarity, we built bridges. But when it came time to hire Black workers, when it came time to support Black businesses, when it came time to address anti-Blackness within Latino culture, that energy was absent. We were good enough to be allies, but not good enough to be equals. Here's what kills me the most. All these years, Black America was told that coalition building was the way forward. We were told that we couldn't do it alone, that we needed to partner with other groups to achieve our goals. So we did. We put our specific needs on the back burner to advance a broader agenda. We were the glue holding together a rainbow coalition that was supposed to lift all boats, except our boat stayed at the bottom while everyone else sailed away. And now that Black Americans have finally said we're done with one-sided partnerships, suddenly we're divisive. We're being accused of abandoning progressive values. We're being told we're engaging in identity politics, which is rich considering every other group has been playing identity politics this whole time. They just didn't call it that when they were the beneficiaries. This thing called delineation, where Black Americans are specifically advocating for policies that directly address our unique historical and ongoing oppression, has people losing their minds. They're calling it selfish. They're saying we're not being team players. players. They're worried that we're fracturing the coalition. But here's my question. What coalition? Show me the coalition that actually delivered for Black America. Show me where that partnership produced tangible results for our community specifically. You cannot find it because it doesn't exist. What existed was Black people doing the heavy lifting while everyone else reaped the benefits. What existed was Black organizers creating the blueprint that everyone else used for their own liberation while we stayed oppressed. What existed was Black voters being the most reliable voting bloc for progressive causes while our specific policy demands got ignored. So now we're saying no more. We're not the servant class anymore. We're not here to fix everyone else's problems while ours get worse. We're not interested in being junior partners in coalitions where our priorities always come last. We're done begging people to care about our humanity. We're done asking for reciprocity that never materializes. We're focused on Black America first, and if that makes people uncomfortable, that's a them problem, not a us problem. Some folks are saying this is wrong, that we should still be building bridges and working together, and you know what? Maybe one day we will. But right now, we need to prioritize ourselves. We need to clean our own house before we start worrying about the neighborhood association. We've got education gaps to close, wealth gaps to address, health disparities to fix, and justice to demand. Those things require focus, resources, and political power, and we cannot afford to dilute our efforts anymore. This is not about hating other groups. This is not about tearing down anyone else. This is about finally putting ourselves first after centuries of putting everyone else ahead of us. This is about demanding that if we're going to work with other communities, it has to be as equal partners with mutual respect and actual reciprocity, not empty promises. And at this particular moment in time, we're not even calling for partnerships. We're saying Black America needs to get itself together, build its own institutions, develop its own economic base, and establish its own political power independent of anyone else. Once we're strong and whole, then we can have conversations about alliances. But those conversations will be from a position of strength, not from a position of desperation. The servant has left the building. The days of Black America being the mule of American social justice are over. We carried everyone on our backs for generations, and our backs are broken. It's time to heal, to rebuild, to focus on us. And if people have a problem with that, they can examine why they're so upset about Black people finally putting themselves first. That discomfort they're feeling is the sound of privilege dying.